In this video, I'm going to give you my first impressions of editing in DaVinci Resolve using the Vision Pro. I've spent the past 2 weeks trying different workflows and different setups, and in this video, I'm going to show you what I've learned. I'm going to show you 5 different ways that you can edit on the Vision Pro, and I'm going to let you know what works and what doesn't work. In case this is your first time here, I'm Fred Trevino. I've been a professional colorist for Beambox Studio for 15 years. I've graded over 60 feature-length films, and I've graded hundreds of short-form projects for companies like Google, HBO, Under Armour, ESPN, just to name a few. In this video, I'm also going to show you the best workflow to get your files onto your Vision Pro. And no, it's not AirDrop. So with that being said, let's jump right in.
This intro intentionally left blank.
Okay, so the first thing I want to show you is just give you a very quick example of the Blackmagic Cloud workflow, which is what puts the files directly on your Vision Pro. But this by no means will be an in-depth video about that. I'm just going to give you a very brief synopsis of how it works so that all your files are on the cloud and everything is synced up across all your devices. So the first thing you want to make sure you're in is under the cloud setting here. But if you are in cloud, then you simply create a new project. This prompt will come up, and right now I am on my Mac Studio desktop, by the way. That's how you want to set everything up. You want to get started on whatever desktop you have. And I'll just call this one Resolve Vision Pro Editing. And then you choose your location where you want to save your media. And this is where, this project will put your files and will also put your proxy files, which is the big important part here to remember, is that DaVinci Resolve will automatically create proxies and throw those up on the cloud and then download them to whatever device you're working on. So that's basically it. I'll skip this. Again, here I have it sync proxies only. You can tell it to do originals, but that's, when you're talking about big file sizes, you really don't need that because the proxies are very good quality and great for working. And then I'll just hit create. Okay, and so now I'm just gonna go over here to my media folder, and I already have this folder here that I already made with all this footage. And I'm just simply gonna select everything, drop it in here. And that's really how easy it is. That's all I'm gonna show you for the most part in terms of the cloud. And what is happening now is, notice that some of the clips are now getting that PXY, which stands for proxy, or that little cloud, which means that it's generating proxies. So it's taking your files, no matter what they are. They might be 4K ProRes 444 files. It will generate some proxies for you. It's actually hard to tell the difference between the originals and the proxies. And anytime you see that PXY, it basically means that that file is now on the Blackmagic cloud. And you can see how quickly it's generating all the files here. And then once this is done, you basically can jump over to your Vision Pro and start editing. And this project will automatically be in there because not only is it moving the files that I've dropped into the project, but it's putting the project itself on the cloud. Anything you do regarding editing, regarding color grading, anything like that will be synced across all your devices. And you can easily open up your Mac Studio, your MacBook Pro, your Vision Pro, even your iPad, and work on that project. So you can see this one is done. I'm saving it. They all have the little check boxes there. Means those files are done and on the cloud. So that's it. So now we're gonna move over to the Vision Pro and start editing. Okay, so here we are. The first thing I want to show you is actually the editing directly on the Vision Pro with no accessories whatsoever, no keyboard, no mouse, nothing, just on this. So I'm just going to put this on. Okay, so here we are. We're just going to be using this environment here, and the first thing I'm going to do is open this up, go to compatible apps, and there's DaVinci Resolve. And this actually is opening up my old project, which you can check out here. Okay, so this is a good example. This is actually my Apple Vision Pro First Impressions video. Check it out here if you're interested. Let's jump right into this whole situation. So one of the biggest issues with working in Resolve, using only the Vision Pro and only the eye tracking, and the selecting items, is that right now, pretty buggy, to be honest with you. I wouldn't recommend using it directly on the Vision Pro with no other accessories. But for example, I want to switch to the project that we just created, okay? And right now I'm looking at the house in the bottom right hand corner to select it and open up that project we just created on my Mac Studio. And I'm looking at it and nothing is happening. See, it just selected that clip. So right now it seems like the eye tracking in the selection is actually horrible. Some items work, some don't. So for example, let's say I want to hit play on this video. I'm looking at the play button, which is another thing that I wish they would change in a future update, is that, you know, in most situations, like if I open up the home screen, for example, and you're looking at something, see, you get some sort of visual feedback. Like, you know, I'm looking at Resolve, you know, I'm looking at DaVinci Monitor, you know, I'm looking at maps, news, numbers, you know what I'm looking at because there's visual feedback of what's happening. Right now in Resolve, you have no idea what I'm looking at. There's no visual feedback of any kind, which makes it hard to work in with no additional accessories. And also, you know, when you're trying to select something, you know, for example, I know right now through experience, see, I actually clicked on the house in the bottom right corner, but for some reason it selected that clip. So here's what I'm gonna actually do. I'm actually gonna bring this very close like this and just, which is actually a really dumb way to work. See, it's not really. Something just happened. I don't know what just happened. You can see right there, it like created another track or something. I don't know what's, okay, see, there we go. And so now there is the project. You can see, but you can see how hard it was just to open a project, you know? So there it is, Resolve Vision Pro Editing. I'm selecting that. Okay, that's working. So here what happens. If you remember, you know, I created the project on my Mac Studio and it shot all the files up to the cloud. It created proxies, put them up on the Blackmagic cloud. And now when I open it here on, you know, the Vision Pro, you know, for lack of a better term, native app on the Vision Pro, which is the iPad app, the second you open it up, it will ask you, okay, where do you want to save this stuff? And okay, and so now I'm going to select change location. And I actually have this folder right there that I created already. So I'm going to select that as where I want my proxies saved. That's fine. That's all I selected. So now I'm going to open the project. You know, and I'm going to be completely honest, I'm showing you exactly how the experience is working on this. Right now, it is going to happen eventually, but what should be happening is instantly, you can see the shots there, they're showing up as offline. Right now, instantly the files should be downloading from the Blackmagic cloud, populating, and then we can start working. So that's another kind of glitch that, you know, and you can see I'm trying to do stuff and it's not really working. In the bottom right corner there, you see that little cloud icon, that should show you the progress, you know, and you can see it's not letting me select it. So it's just like this right now, just the selection, the eye tracking is a total mess. But you can see because of how difficult it is to work, how much time you can spend on this just trying to do the most basic things. So if you're working, you know, directly on the Vision Pro with just your hands and just trying to look and tap, it's going to be a horrible experience. I wouldn't recommend it until, you know, there's a software update by Blackmagic Design so that you have visual feedback of what you're looking at, and also so that the eye tracking is much better. Okay, and so also I don't want this to be kind of a negative thing towards the Blackmagic cloud workflow. Right now, the fact that you don't see the clips there has nothing to do with the cloud. It has everything to do with Blackmagic Design. Right now, the Vision Pro functionality of this app. So I'm gonna just try to close it, nothing. And here's a trick too, if you wanna force quit something, if you press and hold on the two buttons in the top, you can see the force quit application. I'm gonna force quit Resolve. I'm gonna reopen it. Okay, now it's opening up the project again. And see in the bottom right corner, that's what you should be seeing, that little cloud that's telling you that it's downloading stuff from the web. And see how fast that was? That's how it should be from the get-go. And so there you go. But I mean, I think I've spent enough time showing you how this editing directly on here doesn't really work very well at all. So now I'm gonna move on to method number 2, which is using the Apple keyboard and the trackpad. So let's move on to that. And here's a cheat code. So I have used it with this keyboard here, but I don't have the Apple trackpad because it's $129, which is crazy. So here's a little cheat you can do. If you open up your MacBook, okay, the cheat is that if you connect using the Apple virtual display, okay, and there's my window, for example, and then if you just, you know, what happens is now that you have this, you can use the trackpad on your MacBook and the keyboard on your MacBook. But ignore the virtual display for now. You know, I typically just grab it, move it totally out of the way like that. I'm gonna turn on this again. Actually, just enough to see my keyboard and trackpad, about like that. And then just move the virtual display out of the way. But the cool thing about that is, okay, there's Resolve again, is that now I can use the trackpad from my MacBook on the app that's, you know, the iPad app that's on the Vision Pro, and I can use the keyboard as well. And so this method of trackpad and keyboard is great. I highly recommend it. It's not, you know, buggy, it's not slow. It's, you know, it's basically like editing on your MacBook, except you have this big window here, and you can have, see, notes here that I have, for example. You can have another window, whatever, you know, and then you can just simply start editing. So, you know, I can go here, for example, just drop this whole shot in. There we go. And I can start hitting play. Go through here. Maybe I'll trim this shot here a little bit, do stuff like that. Maybe, again, this is by no means editing anything. You can go through here, watch it. In, out. I'll just do this smart insert. You know, I can scrub through, and I'm gonna grab this shot here, and I'm just popping in random shots like that, and I'll just place that here. And you can see, I mean, the editing is great. I could go up here and see, look at this. You have visual feedback, so I know there's a way to do it, but it does not do this whenever you're looking at an object. But with the trackpad mouse, you have visual feedback of what's happening. So hopefully that comes soon. I can go in here, create a title, grab that, I'll drop that in, whatever. Go in here, very easy to use, you know, okay, Resolve and Vision Pro. You can start working like this. I've worked like this on a project, and it's, before you know it, you basically just feel like you're on a MacBook, like I said, again, on a big screen. You can go in here, you can do all kinds of things, you know, and it's very easy. And by the way, going back to kind of the cloud situation, this is now, this random timeline of the girl in binoculars, a title, trim that. This is now synced up on the cloud. So if I were to go back to my Mac Studio or iPad or MacBook, this timeline, as you see it, will be identical. So like that. So keyboard and trackpad, awesome. I do recommend it. You know, everything works. Keyboard shortcuts, full screen. You can see playback. And again, this is just the app that's directly on the Vision Pro. So you can see playback is smooth. You have an M2 processor with 16 gigs of RAM on the Vision Pro. So no issues whatsoever. And it's great. Okay, so now moving on to the next method. Okay, so the next method is my personal favorite, and that is using the DaVinci Resolve Speed Editor, which is great. This is what I've used, honestly, on most of my projects. Let me bring this back here. And again, you just have to, you know, adjust this just to see enough, but move that there. This is my personal favorite way to do this. And you can see it's like super smooth, you know, with this. This is how I've edited most of everything that I've done. So I can go here, hit the source button, and then let's say I want to pop in, click that, and then I can go through, find a place, mark in, out, and then, you know, just do the append at the end. I can go back up here and then click that, in, add that in, go in and select that shot here, in, out. And I mean, this is so efficient. Go back to the timeline. Let's scrub through here. And then I want to go back there again. And then I want to smart insert that. And you can see how very quickly, I mean, you can edit really fast. If I want to cut out a big section of that, I can just go here, split, and ripple delete. And there's no lag with this whatsoever with the speed editor connected via Bluetooth to the Vision Pro. I don't find that I miss a keyboard or trackpad at all, to be honest with you. And my method of working is that typically we'll do an edit, get it to near picture lock, and then I might bring in a keyboard to do like titles and stuff like that, you know. But, you know, there's even a way if I wanted to here, you know, make even very precise adjustments. Like the girl, maybe I want to cut as soon as she sits down. Boom. So yeah, the speed editor, highly recommend it. No lag, works great. And right now we're working in, just to remind you of the Blackmagic workflow, we have the files on the Vision Pro, directly on the Vision Pro. This project is synced up with my Mac Studio across all my devices, my MacBook Pro, my iPad. No matter where I go, this project is gonna look like this, the timeline's gonna look like this, and these clips are on the cloud. And I mean, you can see if I go into full screen here, I mean, you might be able to see through the screen recording. I mean, it looks great. Even on this big screen here, that's probably the equivalent of a 55-inch screen at this point, it looks great, and this is just their HD proxies. They look really good. So this is method 2, putting the files on the Vision Pro, speed editor, my personal favorite. On to the next one, and also just to show you how this all works. So the next method is going to be actually getting into Mac Virtual Display. So far the methods have all been great, except for the first one where you have no accessories. Now you'll see a few things that don't work so good with Mac Virtual Display. So let's move over to that. Okay, and so now I'm basically just going to go into Virtual Display mode. There we go, Mac Virtual Display, Mac Studio. There we go. And there's my Mac Studio, and I'm just gonna do this. So here is my Mac. You can see it's going well, and really but you see, here you go. You can see right away, it's pretty laggy. It's my Mac Studio, but if I wanna go through and play through this, and again, the cool thing is you can see how everything's synced up, but you see how the mouse arrow there, let me actually try to make it a little bigger. But you can see, just moving the mouse, there's like lag. I don't know how well you'll be able to see it through the screen recording, but it is kind of not very responsive. And I'm just gonna watch through it. And as you can see, it's cool that it just kind of synced up everything I did on my Vision Pro, on my Mac Studio. There we go, it's good. And now let's say I want to then do a little editing here. Let's see, I can make a cut here, trim that, like that. And then I want to go back up here, and maybe I'll just grab this here. And you can see how it's a little choppy there. So I'm actually going to bring this here, add it there. And so, and see, it's buggy, input not working. So I don't have to spend too much time showing you all of this stuff, to be honest with you. What I'm just going to tell you with my experience with this is that it's just it's very laggy, it's kind of slow, it's borderline unworkable, just because you can see it go slow, and you get error messages like the input method is not working, editing. I can just tell that everything is just kind of like slow and unresponsive. Just me trying to select one of these objects here, it's just kind of like it's hard for me to make the mouse arrow land on it and select it. So overall, it's just kind of buggy. It's a little slow. It's laggy. The playback is okay part of the time it isn't. And then, when I've gone into other windows here, for example, there's been times where, I open up a window like the curves, or, to add a power window of some sort, and then this whole interface here is blank. There's nothing there. And then in terms of the quality of the video, one thing that, you kind of get used to it, but it's still not great, is that it's still a little soft. It's a little fuzzy. This is one of the things you probably won't be able to see through the screen recording, but just, the text is a little soft. I think it's called foveated rendering, where just the center of, what you're looking at is sharp and then everything else is blurry. They need to expand that out so that more things are sharp, because the thing I'm looking at, it's okay. It's a tiny bit soft, but for the most part, things are too soft, especially when you go from this environment to your real physical screen. Like I have a BenQ monitor. The BenQ monitor that I have just looks better than that. And, and it's less stressful on your eyes. It's sharp, it's crisp. You can see things. And when you're doing editing, and especially when you're doing color grading, I'm not jumping into color grading on this video, as you might have noticed by now. I do have a video dedicated to grading on this, coming soon. So subscribe, and if you're looking forward to that. But especially for things like color grading, you need things to be sharp, crisp, pristine, and not, a little soft. And then when you combine how the whole situation is a little soft and not crisp and sharp, and it's laggy, this, until there are software updates to where the screen is sharp, pristine, I really wouldn't recommend this at all. So I think, that kind of shows you enough of the experience of doing the Mac Virtual Display on a Mac Studio. So let's jump over to the last method, which is doing this Mac Virtual Display, so you can see how that works on a MacBook Pro, and you can see how laggy and slow and everything it is on that, so just so you get kind of a real world example, so to speak. Okay, so here we are again, and I have the connect icon there, so I'm going to connect. Okay, so here's the project again, and I'm working on it on my MacBook Pro, right? So this is the full version of Resolve. So you can see it's showing me this info again for the cloud. I'm just going to select where I'm going to save these files, create a folder, Pro. I'm just going to create a folder there, and the same thing, sync proxies only. Yes, open this project up, and you can see it's populating the clips. See how fast that was? And now these clips are live and usable, and that's how awesome this whole, experience with the cloud is. And here again, here's the project. It's on my MacBook Pro. Here's the project, which is great. So we are in the full version of Resolve doing Mac Virtual Display from my MacBook Pro. And let me show you the playback. And so as I'm working through here, okay, and then let's say I want to add another shot. I'm just going to go to here, and there we go. I'm just going to add this shot here. And then I'm going to do the smart insert thing. And then I want to take this and actually make it a little longer. And here's the weird thing, which kind of shows you the kind of inconsistency and just bugginess of not only the Vision Pro, but Resolve right now. I'll be honest with you, right now, it seems to be going pretty good. I've done this so many times, and I feel like each time, the responsiveness was not that great. And right now I feel like I'm going through here and editing, and it's not, it's actually going better than it was going on my Mac Studio. So why that's happening, I don't really know. If it had been behaving like this tons of times that I've messed with it, then I would tell you that this is great. So there you have it. That's, I was honestly kind of prepared to tell you that it's just as, it was actually, this is the first time this has worked for me and played back smoothly, no issues. It's actually functioning great. All the other times, I'd say at least 5 or 6, 7 times where I've tried this, it's just been ridiculously slow, ridiculously laggy, and just not usable whatsoever. But now it's working. So it kind of, shows you how buggy everything kind of is right now on version 1.0, not only for the Vision OS, but also just with this, DaVinci Resolve app that's on the Vision Pro. But anyway, I would say, I guess, try it on your system. This is another method here. If anything, to me, I would say doing the Mac Virtual Display on a MacBook Pro makes more sense because, it's a 13-inch display, maybe 16-inch at the most, and you trade it for something nice and big like this that you can, I could go here and just make this thing massive, and you can see it's like huge. I don't know if you would actually edit this way, that's like too big, but you can resize it, and it takes your 13-inch MacBook Pro and it makes it whatever size you want it to be, which is a huge advantage when you only have a MacBook or a MacBook Pro. When you have a Mac Studio, most people, they already have a big display, so I still don't understand why you wouldn't really do that because, like in my case, I have 2 monitors. I have a 27-inch monitor, and then I have another 21-inch monitor, and then I have my grading monitor. I have extra monitors, but most people that have Mac Studios do have at least one larger monitor, which right now is sharper and crisper and more responsive. But really, all these issues that I'm mainly talking about are all really, for the most part, I think all of them are software related. It's just a matter of waiting for software updates. So I think you can definitely edit on your, Vision Pro, whether it's directly on the Vision Pro using the iPad app, or if it's using this Mac virtual display, you can do it, Okay, so those are the 5 methods there. Now let's move on so I can kind of give you my final thoughts on all of this. Okay guys, so that's it. That's the 5 different methods to edit on the Vision Pro, and also a little bit about the Blackmagic workflow. As far as my final thoughts, as you can see, most of them have their pros and cons. Some just flat out are not ready right now for editing. Like editing just strictly on the Vision Pro, just with doing the eye tracking. That's just not workable right now. The Mac virtual display, it's buggy. It's a little bit all over the place. As you can see, most of the time it did not work for me, but just now it did work. It was smooth. And on my Mac Studio, it was very slow and laggy. So it's all software stuff, but the ones I can recommend now are using the keyboard and trackpad, or doing the cheat where you just simply use the one on your MacBook Pro. Also using the speed editor if you have that. It's very useful, very efficient, smooth, no problems at all. Again, I hope you learned something. If you are interested in the Blackmagic cloud workflow, let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to make a video about it, but if not, check out my class here on Skillshare about it, where I go in depth into doing the entire workflow. Again, I think this is the best workflow, not only for working with the Vision Pro, but just editing and working in DaVinci Resolve, especially if you're working with multiple devices, multiple people from across the country. It's just simply the best workflow that you can do with DaVinci Resolve. So again, like, subscribe, any questions, let me know, and I'll see y'all later.